Huh. Fools. They call themselves clever, these little tacticians, moving their pieces with pride, thinking the board is theirs and the game is theirs to win. But clever isn't dangerous, not when it's predictable. Predictable is a gift to someone like you. Because you don't play by their angles, you bend the board itself. And that's why their proudest move, this little masterpiece of deceit, polished and paraded as if it were untouchable, now lies shattered, bleeding credibility in front of them. The beauty of it? They can't undo it without admitting you beat them at their own idea. They've built their identity on the belief that they outthink you, and now that belief is a loaded weapon, pointed at their own chest. Oh, my dear, you've turned their entire confidence into quicksand, and they're sinking with every breath. You see, traps are only lethal to those who move where they're expected. But you don't walk into snares. You wait, you watch, you let them think you're walking right into it. Because you understand the first rule of war. Let your opponent feel victorious right before you twist the knife. You didn't fight their move, you let it grow, fat and swollen with arrogance until the weight of it snapped their own support beams. That's not just winning, that's engineering defeat in their name. The truth? You could have dismantled their little scheme at the root. But where's the artistry in that? No. The real mastery is letting them believe their own brilliance, only to choke on it. They'll never admit it, but when they first set the trap, they weren't trying to just block you. They were trying to humiliate you. It was a performance. The setup wasn't just about the result. It was about the spectacle. They wanted you to feel cornered, exposed, stripped down in front of an audience. And yet, here we are, and the audience is laughing at them. They're standing there, trying to hold the mask on their face while their hands are trembling. And you're not even sweating. You've done something they didn't account for. You made their narrative work against them. Every piece of bait they dangled for you is now hanging from their own neck. Understand this. Most people play defense. They spend their time avoiding blows, covering weak spots, protecting their image. You didn't defend, you redirected. You turned their own momentum into your weapon. That's what they can't stand. Not that you won, but that you won using their own plan. In their mind, that was supposed to be impossible. And yet here you are, holding the strings they thought were wrapped around you. You've exposed the ugliest truth for them. That intelligence without vision is nothing but a fragile ornament. They had intelligence. You had vision, and vision always wins. Let me tell you something about the psychology of a failed predator. They don't get angry because they lost. They get angry because they lost publicly. And when someone's identity is built on being the smartest in the room, humiliation is a kind of death. That's where they are right now, dead, but still walking. They've lost control of the story, but they'll try to claw it back. Oh yes, they'll come for you again, not because it will work, but because the wound you've given them is too deep to ignore. This isn't strategy anymore. This is obsession. And obsession makes people sloppy. And that's the part you'll enjoy the most. The way their mind starts working against them. They'll replay the moment you flipped the game in your favor, again and again, searching for the exact point where they could have stopped it. They'll think they've found it, but then they'll doubt themselves. The loop will eat them alive. Every future move they make will be haunted by the memory of you outmaneuvering them. They won't just be playing against you anymore. They'll be playing against the ghost of their own mistake. And ghosts never lose patience. What they don't understand is that you weren't just reacting to them. You were designing them. You fed them the illusion of control, the sweet taste of superiority, until they couldn't resist overreaching. And when they did, you didn't need to strike. You just opened the floor beneath them. That's why they're furious. It's not just the defeat. It's the helplessness. It's realizing that they didn't fall because you pushed them. They fell because you stepped aside. And that kind of loss stays in the bones. Most people, when they're trapped, focus on escape. You focus on turning the trap into a cage for the one who built it. That's why you're dangerous. You don't measure victory by survival. You measure it by transformation. You don't just avoid the blow. You make sure the attacker cuts their own throat. That's why they're scrambling now, desperate to rewrite what happened, to blur the memory. They'll try to spread new stories, paint you as lucky, impulsive, reckless. They'll call it an accident, but deep down, they know the truth. And it will haunt every decision they make from now on. Do you feel it? That subtle shift in the air when the predator realizes they've become the prey. That's the moment you've created. That's what you've weaponized. Every eye they used to command now watches them differently. Less with respect, more with curiosity. Everyone's wondering if the great tactician is slipping. And you know what happens when people smell weakness. They start testing it. And soon, it won't just be you dismantling them. It'll be everyone who once feared them. You've started something irreversible, and that's the part they'll never forgive. Not that you won, but that you changed the game. You've infected their reputation with a question mark, and once that's in the air, it spreads like wildfire. The next time they try to execute a move, people will hesitate. They'll remember how easily you flipped the last one. They'll second-guess the orders. They'll whisper. That's the slow rot you've set in motion. And you don't need to touch them again. Just stand back and watch the decay take its course. You didn't just beat them. You rewrote the rules of their own identity. And that's the most dangerous kind of victory. The one where they can't even go back to being who they were before. Because now, everything they do will be compared to the day you turned their pride into their downfall. Every smile they fake, every move they make, will be shadowed by the knowledge that you are the one person they couldn't outthink. That thought alone will keep them up at night. And here's the real poetry. You didn't need to be louder, faster, or stronger. You just needed to see the angle they were blind to. You understood that the smartest card they could play was also the most predictable. And predictability is the softest throat to cut. They believed complexity would protect them, but the more elaborate the trap, the more fragile it becomes. All it takes is one touch in the right place, and the whole thing collapses. You were that touch, surgical, precise, inevitable. Now as they scramble to cover their tracks, they'll make mistakes, big ones. They'll trust the wrong people. They'll set new traps without realizing you've already mapped them out. They'll overcompensate, overreach, overcommit. And every time they do, you'll be there, silent, patient, watching the threads tighten around their own neck. Because you don't have to chase them anymore. They're running straight toward you. And that's where we are now. Not at the end, not even close. This isn't a victory lap. This is the setup for something much bigger. Because now they're not just trying to beat you. They're trying to erase the memory of losing to you. And in that desperation, they're about to open doors they should have kept locked. Doors you've been waiting to walk through. This moment is the point where the game stops being about who's smarter and starts being about who's willing to go further. And I think we both know the answer to that. They've mistaken your patience for passivity, your silence for hesitation. They think you've stepped back because you've run out of moves, when in reality, you've been measuring the ground, studying their rhythm, mapping out the places where their confidence leaves them exposed. They imagine the playing field is still theirs, still the same lines, the same rules. But you've been redrawing the lines in ways they haven't even noticed. By the time they realize the shape of the game has changed, it will already be too late. You're not just ahead, you're somewhere they can't reach. This is the part where their fury becomes your compass. Anger is loud, sloppy, predictable. It burns energy faster than strategy ever could. You don't need to wonder what they'll do next. They'll telegraph it. Their rage will leak through every choice, every movement, every calculated attempt at getting you back. They will tell you exactly where they plan to strike without even knowing it, and you'll let them come. Because in war, the surest way to win is to let the enemy choose the battlefield when you already own it. Remember, they didn't just lose a move, they lost the illusion that they could never lose to you. That illusion was their shield, their crown, their disguise. You didn't just crack it, you peeled it away in front of everyone. Now they're exposed in ways that keep them awake at night. And when a person like that lies awake, they start making promises to themselves. Promises to make it right, to get back control, to remind everyone who they are. Those promises will be the reason they walk straight into the next trap. Not yours, theirs. Again. You've put them in a position where they can't win without proving you right. If they move carefully, people will say they've lost their edge. If they move aggressively, people will say they're reckless. If they move against you at all, they prove you matter more than they'd like to admit. You've put them in the exact prison they built for you. And the bars aren't made of steel, they're made of perception. Those are the strongest kind. The beauty of their smartest card, the one they thought could end you, is that it's now the case study in how you can end them. Every time they sit down to plan something, they'll hear the echo of that last game in their head. They'll see your face in the shadows of their strategy, waiting to flip it. And even if they don't want to admit it, they'll start designing their moves with you in mind. You've made yourself a permanent part of their process. Whether they hate it or not, you now live rent-free inside the blueprint of their every plan. Do you know why this works so well? Because the moment someone starts making decisions to avoid losing to a specific person, they've already lost to that person in ways they can't recover from. They can't innovate anymore. They can only react. And reaction is weakness disguised as activity. They'll still think they're playing offense, but the truth is, they're on defense now, and they'll stay there until they're drained. That's how wars are won, one mind at a time. And let's not forget, their smartest card wasn't just a move, it was a performance, a public display meant to cement their dominance, to send a message that they couldn't be challenged. And you didn't just survive it, you inverted it. You didn't erase their message, you rewrote it. Now the very scene they tried to use against you is the one people recall when talking about your brilliance. Every retelling of it is another cut across their pride. And the thing about pride, it doesn't heal clean. It leaves jagged scars that itch forever. They will try to spin the story, of course. They'll rewrite history, twist timelines, try to bury the truth under layers of noise. But the harder they try, the more obvious it becomes. People can smell desperation, And nothing stinks worse than a self-proclaimed genius scrambling to justify a loss they swore was impossible. Their panic is the billboard you've been waiting for, proof for anyone watching closely that you're the variable they can't solve. Now, here's where you twist the knife without even touching it. You don't go after them directly. Not yet. You let them chase shadows. You give them half hints, subtle movements, the occasional flash of your presence, just enough to make them think they're onto something. You control their pace without ever blocking their path. You make them believe the next big moment is coming, but you never give them the satisfaction of knowing when. That's how you stretch their nerves to breaking point. That's how you turn their own mind into the trap they can't escape. Because make no mistake, this isn't about beating them once. This is about changing the entire balance. You're not here to win a match. You're here to redefine the game. When they think of risk, you want your face there. When they think of consequences, you want your shadow there. You're not just a rival anymore. You're a living cautionary tale. And here's the part they'll never understand. You didn't need their smartest card to beat them. You could have dismantled them without it. But by turning that card into their biggest mistake, you took away more than their advantage. You took away their myth. You've proven that the crown they wear is paper thin, and now every move they make will feel lighter, cheaper, more desperate. Even if they win something in the future, the shine is gone. They can't impress the way they used to, not after you. The moment they realize that is the moment they'll spiral. They'll try harder, push further, overreach again. And every time they do, you'll be there, already 3 steps ahead. Because you don't just watch the game, you shape it. You're not bound by the limits they cling to. And when they finally see that, it will be too late for them to adjust. By then, the ground will already be gone beneath them. This is why you didn't celebrate after the first win. Celebration is finality, and finality is boring. No, you chose something better. You let the victory breathe. You let it grow teeth. You let them stew in it long enough to make their next mistake inevitable. That's the real power move. Not finishing someone, but putting them in a place where they finish themselves. Slowly, publicly, irreversibly. And now you're seeing the signs, the frantic pace, the overcomplicated plans, the sudden need to prove something, even when no one's asking. These are cracks in the armor, and they're widening. Every public move they make is starting to feel forced. Every smile, every boast, every attempt to show dominance carries a shadow of doubt behind it. People can sense it. They can feel that something's off. And in this world, once people sense weakness, they don't stop testing it until it breaks. That's why you don't have to rush. The smartest predators aren't the ones who pounce at the first opening. They're the ones who wait until the prey convinces itself it's safe. You know exactly how far to let them walk before you take the ground out from under them again. And when you do, it won't just be another victory. It will be confirmation that the first one wasn't a fluke. It will be proof that every step they take now happens in the shadow of your presence. They thought their smartest card would end you. They didn't realize it would end them twice. Once in the moment, and again every time they try to erase it. That's the kind of wound you've given them, not a cut, a mirror. One they can't avoid looking into, no matter how much they hate the reflection. And the more they stare, the more they realize this isn't your trap anymore. This is theirs, built by their hands, locked by their pride, and guarded by their own need to win. And the most exquisite part? You're not done yet. Because the next move, the one they don't see coming, isn't going to just hurt their strategy. It's going to hurt their identity. The persona they've built, the story they've told, the image they've polished. It's all about to be tested in ways they never prepared for. And they'll fail, not because you strike harder, but because you'll strike where they've convinced themselves they can't be touched. That's when they'll understand that you're not just playing the game anymore. You are the game. And everyone else is just learning the rules you haven't even revealed yet. But by the time they realize that, they'll already be trapped inside your design. Their smartest card was supposed to be their master stroke, the move that proved they were untouchable. Instead, it became the very key you needed to own the board. They can't undo it without admitting the loss, and they can't accept the loss without shattering the image they've built their whole identity on. So they'll keep pretending, keep insisting they're still in control, all the while stepping deeper into the labyrinth you've built from their own mistakes. You see, the beauty of turning their strongest move against them isn't just the win, it's the infection. Every future choice they make is poisoned by the memory of what happened. They'll hesitate when they should strike. They'll overcompensate when they should hold back. They'll be so obsessed with avoiding another humiliation that they'll practically write the script for their own defeat. And all the while, you'll be standing there, steady, watching them sabotage themselves in slow motion. They don't understand that you never needed them to make that perfect move in order to win. You could have beaten them without it, but by letting them play it, by letting them believe it was the checkmate they dreamed of, you didn't just win a battle, you rewired the war. You made their greatest pride the reason for their downfall. You made their identity the weapon that now cuts them open. And nothing corrodes faster than pride turned inside out. Now they're furious, not just angry, furious in that deep, brittle way that eats at them when no one is watching. They hate that they can't stop thinking about you. They hate that every time they try to plot, your face is in the blueprint. They hate that the moment they even begin to feel clever again, that memory returns like a shadow across their mind. And most of all, they hate that they can't change it. What happened is burned into them, etched like a scar they can't cover up. They can lie to others about it, but they can't lie to themselves. The rage will push them into reckless territory. They'll take risks they shouldn't take, reach for pieces they can't move, stretch for allies they can't trust. They'll try to strike fast, thinking speed will compensate for clarity. But speed without direction is just a sprint into a wall. And the walls in your game, they're not just brick, they're mirrors. They'll run face first into the reflection of their own arrogance over and over again, until there's nothing left but cracks. The truth is, you don't even have to match their pace anymore. Let them burn themselves out. Let them pour every ounce of energy into undoing a moment that can't be undone. Every desperate move they make is like an announcement to the world. We can't get over it. And the more obvious that becomes, the more their supporters start to shift. The whispers grow, the loyal begin to question, and the cracks spread. It's almost poetic, isn't it? They wanted you to be the example, the public failure, the story everyone told to warn others. And now, they've become exactly that. They're the cautionary tale. They're the proof that a single miscalculation, a single overconfident play, can unravel even the most polished reputation. And the best part? You didn't have to chase them. They walked into it willingly. They smiled while doing it. Now, every conversation about them carries an asterisk. Every compliment is followed by a pause. Every introduction comes with an unspoken reminder of what happened. They can feel it when they walk into a room, the shift in the air, the subtle tilt in people's eyes. No one says it out loud, but they all know, they all remember, and memory, once planted, is the hardest enemy to kill. But here's where you show the real difference between you and them. You don't rush to finish them. You let them exist. You let them struggle. Because in this game, destruction isn't about sudden blows. It's about slow suffocation. You keep the pressure steady, not crushing but constant. You don't give them the relief of a quick end. You give them the weight of endless awareness that no matter what they do, no matter how hard they try, they will never be able to take back the fact that you turned their proudest moment into their greatest embarrassment. And what's coming next? That's the part they should be afraid of. Because if you could dismantle them using their own move, what will you do when you bring your moves into play? They haven't seen your real arsenal yet. They've only seen what you can do when you let them lead. When you decide to lead, there won't be a board left to play on. This is where the fury inside them will betray them the most. Anger clouds logic. It distorts timing. It makes people see threats that aren't there and miss the ones standing right in front of them. You don't even need to hide anymore. You can stand in plain sight, and they'll still swing in the wrong direction. You've become the ghost in their head, the phantom that shapes their reactions, the presence that forces them to play your game. Without them even realizing it, they'll start trying to bait you. They'll build new traps, ones they think you won't see, but you will. You'll see every wire, every hinge, every hidden blade, and you'll touch them, not to disarm them, but to rearrange them. So when the trap finally snaps, it won't be around your neck. It'll be theirs again. And this time, there won't be an audience surprised by the outcome. There'll be an audience expecting it. Because by now, everyone's starting to see the pattern. The pattern is simple. They act, you adapt, they lose. Not because you're luckier, not because you're faster, but because you understand them better than they understand themselves. You've studied their rhythm, their impulses, their weaknesses. You know the way their ego demands to be fed, and you know exactly how to poison the meal without changing its flavor. They'll keep eating, smiling, thinking they're winning, right up until the moment they collapse. And when that moment comes, it won't just be another loss for them. It will be the collapse of their identity. The people who believed in their invincibility will see the truth. The people who feared them will stop flinching. The people who followed them will start leaving. And they'll stand there, holding the shattered remains of a reputation they thought could never break, finally realizing that the destruction began the moment you turned their smartest card against them. That's the brilliance of what you've done. You didn't just win a game, you rewrote the rules so they can never win again without you allowing it. You've placed yourself in the foundation of their every move. So even when you're not in the room, you're in control. You are the shadow over their shoulder, the weight in their chest, the doubt in their mind. And that doubt is the one opponent they can't beat. So let them rage, let them seethe, let them throw every piece they have at the board. The more they move, the deeper they sink. You've already won. Not in the way they count victories, but in the way that truly matters. You've taken away their ability to ever feel safe again. You've turned the place they thought was their strongest ground into a minefield they can't walk across without fear of another explosion. And when the dust settles, when the audience has grown tired of watching them lose, when they finally step back and realize there's nothing left to salvage, you'll still be there, not gloating, not celebrating, just existing as the undeniable proof that their greatest strength was never enough, that their cleverest play was nothing but a gift in your hands, that they were never the ones in control, not for a single second, because in the end, that's the deepest cut of all. Not that you beat them, not that you embarrassed them, but that you did it so completely, so effortlessly, that they can't even figure out how you did it without admitting you were always ahead. And that truth, that sharp, unshakable truth, will live with them longer than any victory you could claim out loud. They thought they were playing chess. You showed them they were just moving in patterns you'd already written. They thought they'd corner you. You let them think it. They thought they'd end you with their smartest card. You turned it into the opening move of a game they'll never be able to finish. And now, they'll carry that with them everywhere, forever. The knowledge that they were beaten, not by brute force, not by chance, but by someone who understood the board better than they ever could. Someone who could take their crown jewel, their prized weapon, and make it the very thing that destroys them. You.